Cool. All right. I think we are good to go. I just want to make sure that everything is working as intended. Oh, there we go. There's the little thing. Awesome. Let me make sure the audio's coming through correctly. Nice. All right. Hello, everyone. This is John from Incendium RPGs. Welcome to our survey filling out live stream here. This is a survey that has been brought to my attention and is being done by Quantic Foundry. So it seems like Wizards of the Coast has hired an outside research firm in order to collect and process the survey data. I have been warned this is a long survey, but I thought it would be fun to fill it out together live with all of you. In fact, I tried recording a video on this once already, and then I ended up messing something up. But anyway, let's get into it. So we're going to start first by starting with the basics. So looks like, oh, hold on one second. I want to make sure my chat is live and everything. There we go. So what are your favorite character classes? And we're going to choose up to 3. So for this, the way I'm looking at it isn't what are the favorite characters I've played and what are their classes. In my opinion, what are the classes that have the best design? And for that, it's going to be some of the iconic options. I'm actually going to go Cleric, Druid, Wizard. So I think that these spellcasters are not only some of the most iconic, but they are the best design and have the smoothest power curve single class from levels 1 to 20. A lot of them are also interesting to multi-class, but not super overpowered to multi-class. So these are the ones that I'm going to start with. And then what are your favorite character species? So looking at this, I feel like since the first time I did this is in a different order. But the way I'm looking at this is not only, like power level, it's how culturally interesting are they and how mechanically interesting are they. And so I think the ones I'm going to click off are first human. I actually tend to play a lot of humans, in my fantasy games. Orc, I also think is really mechanically fascinating. And I think different orcish cultures are kind of underdeveloped right now. So they're a fun species to homebrew for. And the other one is Changeling. I think Changelings, they appeared in Eberron, but I do think that, especially with the monsters of the multiverse lore, that they are tied to the Feywild, I think there's some really interesting things to explore there. And at the moment, those are my favorite ones. And then which D&D campaign settings do I prefer? I have a love for Eberron. I think out of all of the published settings, Eberron is definitely my favorite. And it says choose up to 3, but the only other one I'm going to say is homebrew created by scratch. When I look at homebrew and it says created from elements from one or more published campaign settings, technically my homebrew setting uses a lot of themes and technologies from Eberron, but what I don't want to make it seem like is that I'm just taking we'll take Waterdeep from Forgotten Realms and pop it right inside of my custom setting alongside other custom cities and everything. I really like the idea of taking ideas and inspiration, but also making them your own thing, using your own names, using your own, in terms of settings, politics, governments, factions, not just kind of being like, oh, the Dark Lanterns from Eberron are now in my game. So those are the only 2 that I'm going to put for this one. And then of my favorite D&D campaign settings, I'm putting homebrew because if they're going to use this survey to inform which products and tools they're going to design for, rather than deepen support for published settings that are IPs of Wizards of the Coast, I would rather them develop tools to help DMs create their own settings. So that's why I'm putting homebrew here. So next, have you ever played Yes. Typically played with dice, rulebooks, character sheets. Yes, I have. What is my age? So you can steal my social security number. 29. What country are you located in? I'm in the United States, as you can probably take from my dialect. All right, which editions have you played? I kind of want to put 3rd edition just because I've played Pathfinder and they're basically the same thing. But not in D&D terms, just 4th and 5th edition. And in case you don't know this about me, what edition did I first play? My very first edition was 4th edition. And I keep getting it mixed up because I tried 4th edition. I really couldn't get a consistent group to show up consistently. And then after a while, I really got into 5th edition. But like, because of that, like, my D&D story is so fragmented, I have to keep reminding myself about my experiences with 4th edition. So the last time I played 5th edition was not too long ago. It was only like 2 or 3 weeks ago with Ian. And have you used D&D Beyond? I don't like how this is worded. I feel like they're trying to get me to say whether or not I'm angry at them and canceled my D&D Beyond subscription. I have used D&D Beyond in the past, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't use it in the future. Not subscription-wise, but there have definitely been times where someone has been like, oh, let's spontaneously play D&D. And I don't have any materials printed or no dice on me, so I just open up a free D&D Beyond, create a character using SRD rules and spells, and just go from there and just have a fun little time playing D&D. So I would still use D&D Beyond like that, but I do not use it consistently, and it's not my primary mode of organizing my character information. Have you subscribed to D&D Beyond? I never subscribed to it. I just hasn't been how I prefer to interact with the game. When was the last time you played any edition other than 5th edition? I'm going to say more than 5 years ago. I can't... There was a one-shot that I ran for 4th edition, and I don't remember if it was 5 years ago or more than 5 years ago. But I'm going to say more than 5 years ago. I don't... I haven't played often at all. How important are the following to you when you play D&D? This is motivations for playing. This is an interesting one. So, overcoming challenges with careful decision making. That is very important. I think it's interesting that they say the word careful. I would prefer the word thoughtful. But I do think that this game tends to be more satisfying for the players when they aren't making snap reactive decisions. They have the space to thoughtfully make decisions. And I think a lot of that has to do with how the DM is leading the table. I think that a lot of times DMs get so wrapped in the momentum, they want things to be made quickly. And unfortunately, that tends to limit how thoughtfully the players interact with the system. So creating my own adventures and campaigns, also very important. Introducing new players to D&D, extremely important. That is why we have a YouTube channel. Being a powerful hero that defeats villains and monsters. This is somewhat important. The reason I'm putting it that way is that I think that is a legitimate style of game. I don't think that is the only style of game. I think there's something to be said for, you're like an average adventurer, but the villains that you're fighting are like real superior to you in terms of power. So you have to be creative and use your wits to outmaneuver them. And I think that when you're a powerful hero, that can kind of clash a lot of times with careful decision making. Good example of that is like I have a little story of a bear totem barbarian, and in the environment I set up, there was lava, and they raged, and because they had resistance to fire damage, and they're a barbarian with a high constitution, they got knocked into the lava and then swam through the lava, and basically didn't get hurt. I was using the Tomb of Annihilation lava rules, where it's like 55 points of fire damage, they basically took 26, 27 points and just kind of like stood up out of it. So it's an example of how being a powerful hero can sometimes lessen the stakes of a combat. And I think that it's a legitimate style, but I don't think it's very important that that heroes have to feel powerful. Characters and monsters are beautifully illustrated. It's cool when they are, but I don't think that they have to be. Using minis. So again, I think it's somewhat important. In 9 out of 10 of the combats I've participated in, either as a player or a DM, if like the table tries to go theater of the mind, things go less smoothly. That's been my experience. It becomes less immersive because things are less clear, and because of that, things tend to get more frustrating. So I think that using visual indicators or some way of helping everyone at the table understand the state of the combat, I think is extremely helpful. I don't want them to take away from this. We need to print more minis and sell more minis because that's what players want. Maximizing combat performance by carefully optimizing attributes and gear. The reason I think this is somewhat important is you have to understand the rules before you break them. My first real in-depth D&D character in 5th edition, I wanted to create a Geralt of Rivia. I wanted to create a Witcher. And the Witcher draws upon a lot of different abilities, which would require multi-classing in 5th edition. And when I first started creating that character, I think that, first of all, I was too new to understand the language that would help my DM understand what would need to happen in order to have a satisfactory experience with that concept. And second, I don't think my DM was ready to make the rules calls that would help me live out that experience. So after I basically had this character that was awful at everything and I really didn't like playing, it was very important to me to create an optimized build for whatever concept I had. And so in that time, I probably would have said very or extremely important. And the way 5th edition is currently designed, there's a huge gap between like a mediocre option and a combat optimized option, to the point that maximized combat performance can get kind of stale. So I think it's somewhat important to understand what the optimal options are, but also it can become kind of boring to only do the optimized thing. So I don't think it's very important to maximize every character that you create. But it can be a fun thought experiment every now and again. It can, and again, it's good to understand what powerful feels like, so that when you create a character, if you want to up the challenge of the game, you're doing it from an educated place instead of from, I don't know, a different place. I don't know. Bonding over a shared experience with my playgroup. It's the most important thing. I don't care if your story lacks depth. I don't care if the gameplay was stale. If everyone's having fun and we're bonding over a shared experience, I've had just as many times where my playgroup has bonded over a shared experience of a terrible game as well as an awesome game. So this is really what it's all about. Creating characters with detailed personalities, quirks, and motives. I don't think it's the most important thing. I do think, from my experiences, players tend to have more satisfaction when they do this kind of work of detailing personalities and quirks and everything than when they play a more archetypal character or a more, bland character that's more of just an avatar for their real world personality. Leading the group during gameplay. I'm going to go somewhat important just because I have a feeling there's a disconnect between what our definitions of leading are. Whoever wrote this survey may think of leading as taking charge or, offering the suggestions. And I do think that's part of leadership, but the dichotomy is that there's also a time to sit back and listen and support the decisions, even if they aren't the optimal decisions, of what the group wants to go for. And I think that a strong leader in a player environment is someone who can make the game fun for everybody through the choices that they make. So I think that, in my opinion, a lot of the strongest leaders as players are players that tend to play support. So cleric, druid, wizard, the three that I said were my favorite classes, because they're there to set up everybody else to have more fun, and they get a very particular satisfaction out of that you can't get by being the barbarian or the rogue that's going straight in and doing all the damage and getting the biggest numbers. All right. Oh man, we're only 13% of the way through this. All right. How important is being part of a fun group activity? Most important thing. Having a large collection of minis and or dungeon terrain? Not at all. Again, I think using visual cues enhances the experience. I don't think you need a large collection of dungeon terrain. I find that DMs that try to collect a lot of stuff, from my experience, and please leave in the comments if your experience is different. In my experience, they're trying to make up for a lack of skill DMing. So rather than getting to know what excites their players or how to engineer or design a session or a combat that's engaging and interesting, they try to hook their players with stuff. So they get more terrain, they get more minis. It's like, you're fighting a bugbear, so I have a bugbear mini. And I think that it can distract from the deeper soft skills that separate this kind of game from a more traditional structured board game or video game. Accumulating powerful weapons, spells, and artifacts. That can be part of it, but I only think it's slightly important. Identifying creative ways to solve challenges and obstacles. Again, this is what separates TTRPGs from video games, is the fact that, your only limit is your imagination, not the rules of the game or the program of the game. Researching rulebooks online to optimize class skill combinations. Again, it's somewhat important. Helping others learn to play D&D. Extremely important. It's why we have a YouTube channel. Creating a homebrew world and campaign setting. So I'm going to put somewhat important. I think that a well-crafted homebrew setting can take a good game and make it excellent. I think that it is the icing on top of the cake, but if the cake is not baked correctly, it's just going to be a mess. And again, I do find that too often, not more often than not, but frequently, DMs get really excited about their homebrew world and use its original ideas as a way to try to make up for the lack of skill in terms of DMing sufficiently. So I for this one, I think that it's somewhat important, and it's more important to DM a good game than it is to create an original setting or a custom world or something. Creating elaborate backstories for characters. Again, kind of like the personality traits. I think it's very important. I think games are better when this happens. Also, I don't think it's the most important thing. Rulebooks and guides that feature amazing artwork. Yeah, all right. Taking charge of the team and deciding how to proceed. For me, that's not really what it's about. That's not where I get the most joy, but I'm willing to do it if it's needed. How are you introduced to D&D? So again, this is where I have to remember that we're talking about my 4th edition experiences. And I was introduced to it Chrome remembers my answer here. Through D&D's cultural zeitgeist. Like, that's the best way I have to put it, is my parents were talking about nerds with Trapper Keepers. Now my mom is one of the nerds with the Trapper Keepers. But that's really, honestly, it was just people talking about it. It was word of mouth. Maybe that's a better word of mouth. There we go. Like, it was no one like, hey, wanna play D&D? Or, whoa, what's this game you're playing with dice? It was just word of mouth, just people talking about it. So it's hard to trace it back to like one thing that introduced me to it. Now, again, I must have been like 6 or 7 when my parents first talked about it. It was more than a few months later. And then it was definitely more than a few months later that, did I play? No, it was earlier. So yeah, actually it was interesting. The way this goes, I'm going to put same day, but when I first like decided maybe D&D is something I'll give it a try, there was a local bookstore that was going out of business, very sad. And they were selling D&D Essentials products, the Dungeon Master's Guide, the box set you can actually see behind me, the Monster Vault for 4th edition. They were on sale for like $15 or $20 each. And I had some allowance saved up. I was like 16 or something. So I bought the products first. And then it was like another 3 or 4 years later, I got a group to try it with me. It was a disaster. But still, they don't have an option for, like, I purchased it first and then a few months later I played it. So, which of the following did you do first? Oh, bought or received a D&D book or box set. What was the first tabletop D&D product you've ever owned? Can I put all of them? Because technically it wasn't called the Player's Handbook. I don't think it was the core rule book, and then Heroes of the Fallen Kingdom. That was like the first thing I bought. Was the first D&D product you ever owned physical? Yeah, just physical. What was the first 5th edition? So my wife for Christmas one year bought me the Player's Handbook, the Monster Manual, Volos, and Xanathars. Those were the first products I owned, and now my collection has grown. In fact, the only official book I haven't bought, and I probably will in the future, I won't review it, but Keys to the Golden Vault. Yeah. You mentioned the first D&D product you owned was, how was this product obtained? I purchased it new for myself. Yep. Think about the first D&D tabletop product you bought. Why did you buy that product? It was, Yeah, it was honestly just a curiosity of what TTRPGs were like, because I had never played one before, so I was just kind of interested. Although, even though I bought the 4th edition stuff, that wasn't the first TTRPG I played. I played a session and a half of the Serenity RPG for Firefly. It was interesting, but it also wasn't as smooth as some of the other... It wasn't super smooth, but we were just high school kids, so it didn't really need to be. After that first product, what kind of D&D products did you get next? I got an adventure. I forget what it was called. It was something about minotaurs building a temple. It was a 4th edition adventure, and I never even played it, but I thought it would be interesting to try it out. Oh, and this is just everything. I've gotten everything. Except for digital tools. Don't stop printing books, wizards. When was the last time you bought an official D&D product? Last 6 months. The last product I got was the dragon one, Shadow of the Dragon Queen, the Dragonlance campaign. Have you bought official D&D products directly from a website? Yes, from Amazon. Yikes. Would you consider buying official D&D products directly from a website that way again? Yes, from Amazon. I don't like the D&D Beyond. You're buying a license to use stuff. And, you know, Amazon has such frequent sales. How important to you are each of the considerations below in deciding whether or not to buy an official D&D product directly from a website? Free shipping. That's pretty cool. Digital content is integrated into available online systems. I should really support the community and say it's very important, but I don't care. Equally usable on PC and mobile, I do think. Yeah, it's the price does matter. That's why I bought things on Amazon. I also don't have a lot of local game stores. Usually when it's a local game store, I don't buy D&D products. I buy like third-party products. So like the Creature Codex is a good example of that. Or the Monsters Know What They're Doing, the Forest Kingdom Campaign Compendium. Like those third-party products are ones that I get from like my local game store. So digital content is shareable with friends. Sure. Digital content is accurate when compared. Yeah, it should be, right? Fast shipping. Availability of exclusive content. Digital content can be accessed quickly and easily. And then discount of other benefit. What? Okay. Oh my gosh. One of these. Quarter of the way done. All right. Please rank your top considerations. Discount of other benefit. What? Free shipping. Fast shipping. All right. We'll go with best price first. Quick and easy to use. There we go. Over the past 6 months, where did you typically buy physical versions of official products? Amazon. Where did you buy digital versions? I don't usually purchase digital products. I like how it's like faded out. Like, of course you buy digital products, right? Have you created your own PC for use in D&D? I absolutely do. I create my own PC. Yeah, I just create my own PCs. What resources did you use to build your first character? The core rulebook. There was no Xanathars when I was building. My first character. Yeah, core rulebook. Still. What resources do you currently use? A friend who is familiar with. I am usually the friend that is familiar with D&D, helping people do stuff. But, no, I built my own characters. Have you ever been a DM? Oh, yes, I should be prepping for a game right now, in fact, but I'm not. I'm here filling out a survey. What year did you first DM? Wow. All right, I got to do some math. So, when did I graduate high school? I think I graduated high school in 2011. So I think it was 2013. And I don't remember the month. I just think I think it was 2013 was like the first year I tried DMing, and then I took a long break. Which editions have you DM'd? 4th and 5th. What percentage has been spent DMing? I'll say about 40%. I do a pretty good job of avoiding being the forever DM. I love being a player in other people's games. I learn more about DMing that way than if I were just always in the seat of control. When was the last time you DM'd a 5th edition game? Oof, my players are going to be mad. It was December. But technically we've been doing a lot of character work in the last few months or so. But it's been 4 months since I last DM'd a game. In the past 12 months, about what percentage of your 5th edition D&D has been spent DMing? Again, no, maybe 50% of the time. I pretty much at this point, at the moment, I kind of split DMing evenly with Ian. So Ian DMs a game, I DM a game, that kind of thing. What kinds of content do you use when you DM? I use official content, third party, homebrew, created from scratch too. I don't use a lot of homebrew adapted from user-generated content, but I think it's been so long that I may? I don't know. What kinds of campaign setting worlds do you use? Homebrew settings adapted from third party, not third party. Yeah, so like I said, I love Eberron. I love reading about Eberron, learning about Eberron. I have never, to my memory, played a game where I'm like, we're gonna play Forgotten Realms right out of the book. I haven't DM'd that way. I think Ian did Ravenloft, like, pretty much by the book. And I played in one of those games. But when it comes to I've always, even if it's a module, I'm like, all right, this is a different name for the city of Waterdeep. But these are basically the same factions going on, but they have different names. So that's pretty much, like, how I do things. Typically, when you're running a campaign, about how much time per week do you spend preparing to DM? Typically, when you're running a campaign, it's not a lot of time. It's definitely more than an hour. Most of my time is spent communicating with the players of, like, where's your character at? What are some things about their backstory? I have a question about this decision that they had made in the last session. A lot of it is just waiting for them to get back to me. But if you actually take the time outside of the waiting for them period, it's only about 1 or 2 hours. And most of that is honestly spent looking up, like, art so that I can have a visual cue for my players about what's going on. But when it comes to the actually organizing the story, it's very, very quick. And that only happened through practice. I don't, like, wing all of my games. So, but do you ever modify official D&D rules? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Which of the following kinds of modifications have you made? All of them. All of them. Custom gear upgrades is my pride and joy. Alright, what was the first year that you played 5th edition? September 2016. How often did you play 5th edition in the past 3 months? I think it's usually once a month. At least once every 3 months. I do not play once a week. I can't do that anymore. Over the past 6 months, how long has your average 5th edition session lasted? I can't really go 2 to 3 hours. I need at least 4 to 6. There's just something about not playing long enough that just irritates me. So before and since the COVID-19 pandemic, where and how do you typically play D&D? Before COVID, it would be at a friend's house or at work because it was at the same place as my job. Not ever in a public place or organized. During and since, it's been virtual. I have a really hard time now playing if we're all sitting down at a kitchen table or something and it has to do with the clarity of communication. When you may know this from listening to some of our other videos, but when we play D&D now, and this is very unusual, and I recognize that, we play through Roll20, and whatever's happening within the game, we type in the chat log. Everything else we can do through like Discord, like through our voices, and we can make jokes and comments or whatever, but the drama of the game is recorded. And what that allows us to do is check things. Everyone is like kind of held accountable to what they say. That doesn't mean we don't retcon. So if a player truly didn't understand something and they're like, I opened the door on the left wall, and the DM's like, well, the door's on the right wall, the player will be like, all right, retcon, I opened the door on the right wall. Something like that. What that's done is made gameplay very clear, and it's made it so much easier to maintain a serious or dramatic tone to scenes that deserve it. So the game doesn't devolve into jokey shenanigan. And it's just something that we've found very helpful, to the point that when I sit at a regular table, energetically I feel exhausted after instead of excited. And so ever since we started really using the online tools to our best advantage, I really have a hard time playing any other way now. That's my soapbox moment, though. What service do you play D&D with? Discord. I do use Facebook Messenger to communicate with people. Not Twitch. Roll20 is my simulator of choice. How many active players, including you and the DM, are in the active groups you usually play? Excuse me. All right, so Ian's, I think, is 9. My other group is 11. Now, I don't play with 11 people at the same time. I have, I rotate them through. So I'm like, all right, in this session, you, and you are going to be the party. And then next time I'll make sure that whoever wasn't in this first game is in the second game. And I kind of switch around characters and party members. And it just leads to this very expansive narrative where there are a lot of dynamics to keep track of. But also the group sizes aren't so big that the gameplay gets diluted. So how many different people do you currently play 5th edition with in total? I'm gonna say there's 10. There's 10 people that regularly rotate through the games that we play. Of those people you currently play 5th edition with, how many did you personally introduce to the game? That's a good question. 2, 3. I didn't introduce Ian. So I want to say 5. Half of the people are ones I've personally introduced or taught to the game. Which of the following have you bought? Everything. Which of the following box sets have you bought? Not the Rules Expansion gift set. I did buy Spelljammer. I have the old problematic version of Spelljammer. All right. Which of the following 5th edition D&D adventures have you bought? All of them. Yeah, legit. I'm just kind of going down. I haven't played all of them yet, but I'm kind of trucking through them. It's one of my things that I'm doing. Oh, I've played Tyranny of Dragons. All right, have you bought Dragonlance? Yeah, man. Not just as the book, though. Have you bought Keys from the Golden Vault? I have not, in fact. Which supplements have you bought? All of them. There's a difference between buying them and liking them. Yeah. When I was serious about reviewing products, I made it a thing to try to buy everything. But ever since then, ever since the OGL thing, that's not a priority. Oh, wait. I did not purchase Maps and Miscellany for this. My parents did for me, so I'm gonna say I didn't. Which of these related products have you bought? None of them. Which of the following types of accessories? None of them. That's the nice thing about doing things online. You don't have to buy a lot of minis or terrain. You just purchase a map or a token and you pop it on there. Which of the following core rulebooks have you used? All of them. I've modified. I've used them inside and out. Which of the following box sets have you used? Uh-oh, my dogs are about to bark because the UPS man is here. So my apologies. As soon as they start, I'm gonna try to mute myself real quick until they stop. Box sets. I haven't used any of these. Oh, that's not true. I have used and modified these and run them rules as written. I've done everything. I love the D&D starter set. Oh, there we go. Hold on. Excuse that unscheduled interruption. All right, so which of the adventures have you used? Oh, here we go. All right, I have used and modified Candlekeep, Curse of Strahd, Red Plaid used as published, Ghost of Saltmarsh, same thing, Horde of the Dragon Queen. I've done a little Rime of the Frost Maiden. I've played a version of Out of the Abyss. I have played a version of Princes. Rise of Tiamat, it's both. Storm King's Thunder, I was playing rules as written until my party DPK'd. Tales of the Yawning Portal. I've actually played a lot of these. I have played a modified version of Tomb of Annihilation. Tyranny of Dragons is different. Whatever. Waterdeep Dragon Heist, besides some name changes, I did do that one pretty much rules as written, and that was a pretty fun game. I love Dragon Heist. I don't know. It's one that I would be excited to play again. Oh, here is some good stuff. Fizzbands. I've used some stuff rules as written from Fizzbands and Guildmasters. Oh, yeah, the mechanics I've used as published. The content, like the story and lore, I've modified. Monsters of the Multiverse. Tome of Foes. These are hard because the lore I've changed, but the mechanics I haven't really. Tasha's Cauldron. Yeah, I do have a little issue with like the way they worded this. Like, it makes it seem like, I don't know. There should be like a lore and a mechanics section, because I don't want them to think that I'm using all this lore, because I'm not, but I am using the mechanics pretty regularly. Which of the following accessories have you used? None of them. Which of the following things have you used? Oh. Yeah, I did, I play Magic Arena, so they're not physical cards, but yeah, Forgotten Realms was one of my favorite Magic sets in a while. I really enjoyed it. How important are the following when you when you decide to buy a book? Species, classes, subclasses, feats, spells, magic items, monsters, lore and world information. Not important at all. I'll make it up myself. What currency do you use? Alright. Oh, goodness. In the last 6 months, I haven't bought any. I think it comes to like $90-ish if I bought 2 books. $45 each because I use Amazon like a bad person. The problem is I have all of these. So I haven't been buying them in the past 6 months because I already have them all. How much did you spend on the following products? 0. I don't buy things. I've bought things. Which of the following digital games have you played? I have played D&D online for like 2 hours. Do you follow D&D news, continuity? I follow things. Where's Twitter? Especially during your OGL debacle. Twitter was a fun read. Facebook. In a typical week, how many hours do you watch D&D related video content? That's a good question. I want to say 6 to 10, but realistically, I think it's 1 to 5. Because again, like, I watch a lot of videos, but they're all like 10 minutes, so it doesn't go more than 5 hours. Which family members do you play D&D with? Actually, yes, my grandparents. No, it wasn't before COVID though. My grandma, I have a game specifically for her. How likely is it that you would recommend D&D to someone else? Ooh, D&D? You've complicated my answer there, wizards. I think it's a great starter system. I don't think it's necessarily the system you should stick with. For me, it is, but like just not necessarily, you know. How do you feel about the current direction of D&D? Positive. You didn't deauthorize the OGL. Why do you say that? This could have been a very different answer if the OGL 1.0A was deauthorized. As of right now, I'm cautiously optimistic. 1D&D's design direction is interesting, and I'd be even more positive. I will be. I'll even say I will be even more positive when it's released into Creative Commons. If Kyle Brink had not said 1D&D was being released into Creative Commons, I would be a little more like neutral. But the fact that, yeah, he, as long as he follows through on his word. Have you played Magic the Gathering? Oh, do I now? What tabletop or digital games have you enjoyed playing most in the last 3 months? I don't play a lot of games, unfortunately. Not as many as I want to be. I did play Portal last night. I did a whole run of Portal. I don't have a lot to answer. In the past 6 months, which of the following tabletops have you played? What competitors have you started playing? I haven't played Pathfinder yet. It's on my agenda. I have the box. We'll do a whole video on that soon. It's still in its shrink wrap because I wanna do an unboxing as part of it. That's gonna be a monster video. In the past 6 months, about how much in USD did you spend on these games? Oh, on Pathfinder, I spent $100 because I bought the core rulebook and the beginner box. Which of the following is true for you? I don't play D&D with any of the same people I play Magic with. That is correct. Which of the following did you start playing first? Oh, definitely Magic the Gathering. I've been playing Magic since I was like 9. Which of these best describes your gender? Oh, then they want to know my racial or ethnic heritage. I am a white dude, but we will also put East Asian. My grandparents are Japanese. Or one of my grandparents is Japanese. For statistical purposes only, which of the following categories best represents your total family income? That's a good question. I think it's this one. Just in case you want to know my family income. Oh, and that's it. We took part of the survey, and our response is very important to them. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with that. Maybe you got some insights into my views and thoughts for the game. Even if you disagree with a lot of things that I said, hopefully this helped serve to help you clarify some of your thoughts and habits when it comes to TTRPGs. I will say D&D, big corporation, has been up to some sketchy stuff. I will say that I do think one of the values of filling out these surveys is not only to kick them in the right direction, and getting more content into the Creative Commons for other smaller designers to be able to create their own systems and content, but also if you're interested in getting into the design space yourself, this is a pretty good way to do it. The way some of these surveys are done, it gives you at least a little food for thought. But I think that's going to be it for today, everyone. Have an awesome day, and we'll catch you for our regularly scheduled video tomorrow. So we'll see you then. Bye-bye now.